Welcome back to the Dethroning Your Inner Critic podcast. Today, we have an incredible guest who is transforming lives by showing people how to harness the power that lies within their own brain. Very much a person that I am so excited to talk to. So, this is Adele Spraggon. She is an award-winning author, internationally recognized thought leader, and behavior change expert who helps people break free from self-limiting patterns and rewire their brains for success. So her groundbreaking four-step method backed by neuroplasticity has empowered thousands to shift their thinking and unlock their highest potential. So Adele, welcome. We sound like we do some very, very similar work. I have a four-step method. You have a four-step method rooted in neuroplasticity. We're going to have a lot to talk about today.
Love
Great.
that.
Yes, yes. So, Adele, can you just share with us wh where you started, where you are now, and just kind of walk us through the journey of what you're doing in the world now?
Sure. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I like many of your listeners, I'm sure, I came from a dysfunctional family, in which that inner critic was very loud in my head.
Yes.
And I tried a lot of different stuff. I mean, to say that I did different methodologies would be an understatement. I did
Mm.
therapy, I did meditation, I did Kundalini yoga, I did landmark education. I did, I could
Yeah.
go on and on and on, like
Yeah.
with this laundry list of things that I tried.
Yes.
And still, I felt, I'm not where I want to be. Like, yes, I made progress. I mean,
Mm.
yes, I gained some inner confidence and got rid of some shame, but it
Right.
was still there. The fears, the shame were still underlying everything I did.
Sure.
So, at one point, Joanna, I woke up and I went, wait a minute, it can't be me. And that
Mm.
was the first time that I actually had
Mhm.
this amazing breakthrough because I started to question, are we missing something? Is
Yeah.
something missing about our approach to personal change
Mm.
rather than what am I doing wrong in personal change? And
Yes.
so I took myself to university and I decided, okay, I'm going to just study this human brain of ours and just figure out
Mhm.
what's going on in here.
Right.
And so that, along with my own subjective experiences and meditation and things like that, I determined that sure enough, there is something missing. And what I realized was missing was the neuroplasticity in our brain. That
Yeah.
once our brain creates a pattern, a channel in which it operates, it
Yeah.
continues to use that over and over and over again and will
Yeah.
gravitate first towards that
Yes.
before any change can bring about any change.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, how do I remove that pattern? That was my thought. Not
Yeah.
what do I do to fix this, but how
Yeah.
do I just let it go? How do I get rid of it in my brain?
Yeah.
And so I started to play with our neuroplasticity, and that's the four-step technique that we'll talk about today.
Mm.
Um, but it really revolutionized the way I was approaching myself and my problems. And
Yeah.
what I realized is that every single problem that I was facing was actually originating in a pattern in my brain. And if I could remove that, I could get rid of any problem I face. And that just transformed me. I was just
Wow.
off and running.
Yeah. It's amazing. Okay, so let's dive into this four-step method and also talk about why brain patterns is really the key to, really solving all of life's most toughest problems, I think, right? So, what is this four-step method?
So the four-step method is very simple. But simple isn't easy. Okay. But first of all, it starts with the recognition that our brain is inside a silent room called the skull. There's
Mhm,
nothing in there, and it
mhm,
has to interpret all the information it's receiving through its senses. And
mhm.
so when I say there's nothing in there, I really mean that. There's no sight, no sound, no touch, no feel, nothing. So everything that it's going on is sensory information, and it goes, okay, what is this? And it tries to piece it together and figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's why it uses these patterns, because once it has a pattern, it thinks, okay, I can use that over here as well, and over in this situation as well. Okay. And this
Yeah.
is why we tend to think that people are consistent, right? Like you'll say, oh, Joanna, I always do such and such, right? And they'll believe that
Yes.
entirely. But
Yes.
what's happening is just that they have a pattern in their brain that always does that.
Right.
Okay. And that takes it to different situations. So we
Yes.
have to start by identifying what that pattern is. Let's stop trying to figure it out here. Okay. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Let's instead turn inwards and identify what that pattern is. So
Yeah.
step one is just simply to say, okay, when I believe that, okay, not when that's true, but when I believe that is happening, how do
Yeah.
I feel?
Yeah.
Where do I feel it? So
Yeah.
where physically in my body is it? What emotion does it trigger in me? And what thought arises as a result of it? Okay,
Yeah.
so let's take a situation. Let's use what you do, right? Dealing with that inner critic.
Yeah.
So here you are in a situation, and that inner critic is screaming in your head, you shouldn't do that. And blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. Where do I feel that? Like, what happens? Does my body contract? Does my throat tense up? Do I start to cry? Right. What am I feeling?
Yeah.
And for everybody, that's different, right? We always think that that's going to trigger shame, but it may not necessarily. So you get to be individual. You get to check in with yourself. Does it trigger fear? Does it trigger shame? Does it trigger panic? Does it trigger anger? And
Yes.
then, okay, and then what am I saying about myself because of that voice in my head? I'm no good. Um, I have to rebel, whatever it is that you personally are saying. So that's step one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Simply that. Let's just break it down into these three pieces.
And what's the name? What do you call that first step?
Identify the pattern.
Okay. Great. Great.
So
Yep.
a pattern is an intertwined physical sensation, emotion, thought. When those three aspects of our being come together, it
Yes.
results in an action, a belief, or a behavior.
Yes.
Okay.
That's that.
So we need to go to the building blocks of that pattern first. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next step is to flip the switch. We're so used to thinking, okay, the outside situation is causing me to feel this way, it's
Yeah.
causing my reaction, but not
Yes.
true. The pattern in our brain comes before the reaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
patterns get created when we're very young. From the moment we're born, our brain starts piecing together all of these patterns, okay, in order to
Yep.
know what to do. And
Yep.
so we've got to go, okay, yes, it feels like to me it's out there, but I know that the ownership belongs to me.
Yes.
So we're just going to flip it and we're going to say the words, I created that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's step two. And it's just, it sounds like a trick of the mind, but it isn't. It's a powerful recognition that unless we have that pattern in our brain,
Yeah.
we would not be seeing the situation as we're seeing it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. That's so important.
So,
Yep.
yeah, so important, right? Now, the
Hmm.
third step is where we deconstruct that pattern. That's a little tricky for me to explain in a half-hour podcast.
Sure.
Um, but get my book. It's free on my website. It'll break down exactly how to deconstruct that pattern. So we're going to tease that brain channel apart,
Mm.
okay, using the brain's plasticity, and
Yep.
then only then can we start the process of creating a new pattern.
Yeah.
We must remove the old one first, or else that old one is going to keep taking priority over everything that you do. And
Yeah.
that's why we tend to make the same mistakes over and over again. And people
Yeah.
will say, what's wrong with me? Like, I know better. I shouldn't be doing this. And I go, no, it's okay. It's just a pattern. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It's just a
Yep.
pattern in your brain that
Right.
continues to do that.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So y- we are speaking very much the same language, right?
Good.
So I love it. So if you're willing, can you share with us how you first used your own method? Right, or not
Hmm.
even first, but a particularly challenging circumstance or situation or old pattern that
Yes.
you use your method to overcome.
Yes, yes. Well, so much, but I mean, I've quit drinking using it, and I was almost an alcoholic, I'll say. Okay. So much in my life has changed. But one of the first ones that I addressed was this deep feeling of shame. It was
Hmm.
almost like an existential shame. Like it just felt like it was me. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wasn't somebody who got ashamed every once in a while. I was deeply fundamentally felt like I was shamed.
Yeah.
And so I kept applying the 4 steps to this shame that I was feeling. And it
Hmm.
would show up in different areas. So I would use different triggers of it. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I remember, Joanna, so this is a technique that you can do anywhere once you learn it. Okay. So I was walking and I took myself out and for my evening walk and I was just applying the 4 steps and applying the 4 steps.
Mhm.
And suddenly my brain just shifted. And it
Mm.
was as if I was using this one situation, and I'll share with you. When I was about 13, I got involved with this very abusive relationship. And he had said something which was so deeply shaming for me. So
Mm.
I kept using it. I kept using that as my trigger. Okay. And I kept feeling the shame and feeling the shame. And
Yeah.
then it was like somebody had just taken all the files in my brain, opened up all the drawers, threw them up in the air, and brought them back in a different way. And I just
Wow.
went, oh my Lord. And I started to laugh because
Mm.
suddenly this shame that had just ran my entire life was
Yeah.
just gone. And it was the
Wow.
most freeing, liberating experience. And so I was
Mm.
walking down the street laughing out loud, couldn't
Yes.
stop myself, right? And
Um,
the other thing I realized is, wow, I had so much interpreted that situation through a very narrow lens. And
mhm.
suddenly I was seeing it from a whole different perspective. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in that instant, I was able to see things that I'd forgotten all about. I
Right.
was able to see him differently. I was able to see my
Mm.
contribution to the dance, but not in a blaming way, just
Yeah.
in a wow, like a
Mm.
liberating way. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so that moment transformed my life from then on. I was
Amazing.
no longer shame based.
That's
And
amazing.
now if I experience shame, it is correct shame, I'll call it, right? It's shame
Yeah.
because I've done something and need to correct it. But it's
Yes.
not that deep. I'm
Right.
shame based.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and as you're talking, I've talked about this a lot on my podcast that I didn't even know that I had shame.
Hmm.
Because I didn't really, it wasn't like I had anything like this deep traumatic, you know, wound, right? So I went through a lot of my life believing that I was confident and I was, right? And it's the becoming, right? The work of continuing to use this inner navigation that you're talking about,
Hmm.
where you actually start to uncover parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed. So when I first started looking at my own shame, I realized that there were parts of myself that had um, almost shoved that down, right? Like I was
Hmm.
almost in denial of the fact that I had any shame, right? So when you're doing your work out in the world, um, do you notice whether it's for yourself or whether it's for the with the people that you work with, that the more we uncover those parts of ourselves, the more we can keep seeing echoes of the same pattern replaying. So it's like you feel that sense of like liberation, right? Like you said, the files shift and this part gets completely eliminated and you're no longer that little 13-year-old girl that was so driven by fear, but yet here you are. I know you have a book, right? I know for me, writing my book brought up all sorts of stuff. Whenever I'm creating something new and putting it out into the world, it's like some of those same patterns continue to show up. So I'm wondering if that's something that you experience and you've seen in your clients.
Okay, so I love what you're saying. I want to address something that you said before, and then we'll come back to your current question.
Yeah.
So, what I love about the human brain is it will only open doors that you are ready to open.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really deeply affirmative and protective of.
Hmm.
So if, some people come to me and they say, Adele, I'm so afraid of repatterning. Repatterning is the first step, what I do. Um, because I'm so afraid of what I'll find in there. And I say, you don't have to worry about that. Like your subconscious is protecting you all the time. And it
Yes.
will only allow your conscious mind to see what it's ready to see.
Yes.
So yeah, Joanna, that brings me to what your question is, right? Like as we keep repatterning and removing these layers, we see them at a deeper level and
Yes.
we see them from a different perspective. Now, it's never the same, right? It's not like you revert back to how you are before. There's
Mhm.
always a transformation that has occurred, but it's that next layer down that starts to be revealed, and then the one after that. And then eventually the whole pattern is completely gone. Okay.
Mm.
And the person never has to worry about it again. I never worry about feeling that level of shame again. I just don't. It's just gone from my entire psyche.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Um,
Mm.
yeah. So again, those deeper layers have to be addressed, but your mind will do it gently and it will do it in a way that you can handle. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
that's important to know.
Yeah. So when in your life right now, do you have any areas right now where it's not that deep level of shame that it once
Hmm.
was, but
Hmm.
it's the remnants of, am I really good enough for this? Do I really have what it takes to really create whatever it is that I'm creating? Do you see that for yourself at all?
Well, what I do is anytime that I'm feel that I've arrived at a certain level of success or something, I will set a bigger goal.
Yes.
And I don't do that in order to achieve the goal. I
Hmm.
do that in order to reveal the patterns that will stop me from achieving the goal.
Oh, brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
that is a big difference because what I
Mhm.
want to do is I want to continue on my path of personal growth. That's just
Okay.
my lot in life, I'll call it.
Sure, of
Okay.
course, of course, yes.
And so the only way sometimes I can do that because I feel like, oh, everything's okay now. I'm good. The only
Yeah.
way I can do that is by saying, all right, Adele, what's next? And then I go, okay. Then the fear shows up or the I'm not good enough voice shows up. Perfect. I can use
Yeah.
that and I can repattern around that.
Yes, yes. Right. So I love what you're saying because while our brain wants to kind of keep us in the familiar and the safe and the known and the predictable, you know, we're on this journey, we're on this path of continually reaching for what's possible. And always what's possible is right outside of that predictable, safe comfort zone. So,
Yes.
really what you're saying, again, this is where we're speaking the same language, is um, we're always going to keep bumping ourselves up to the edge of that fear and that doubt. And you said something earlier when you were first describing the your method, that uh, when most people want to eliminate that fear. Most people want to make sure that they don't experience that
Yes.
ever again. The
Yes.
fear, the doubt, the shame, whatever it is, the fear you're going to be rejected, the fear you're not good enough, right? And so it's this constant tug of war going on in your
Hmm.
brain because you've got this patterned brain that wants to pull you back and keep you safe. And then you've got this other self that wants to keep having you reach for what's next. So how do you personally navigate that tug of war? How do you help other people to navigate that tug of war?
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing that I always suggest, okay, first of all, suffering is not bad. Okay.
Right.
We have it all
Right.
backwards.
We
We are told you
sure do.
shouldn't suffer. And
Yeah.
I say, no, no, let's build resilience towards that suffering
Yes,
so
yes.
that you can use the suffering for what it is. And what is
Yes.
it? It's a messenger.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
anytime that you're suffering, it's just simply a sign that you do not have the pattern yet for the situation that you're facing.
Mm.
Okay. So
Mhm.
if we can go towards it rather than run away from it, okay, and
Yeah.
running away from it looks like positive thinking or avoiding or, all those things that we try and do, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, so run towards it. So, like, okay, let's just feel our way through this, right? Let's see what the messenger is trying to tell you.
Yep.
And sometimes that requires somebody like you and me, Joanna, to be there and hold that space. Okay. So, sometimes if it's a scary thing that the person's facing or deeply shame based, then it helps to have you or me just, okay, we're just here with you and we're just going to hold the space while you go through it.
Yes,
But going through it is so important.
it
So
is.
the first step, that step where we just identify the pattern, that builds a lot of resilience.
Yes.
Because what happens when we turn towards an emotion or a sensation like that is it actually dissipates. Okay, so it rises as probably everybody knows. I'm not saying anything new here, right? It's like a roller coaster. It goes whoosh and you come all the way up and
Mm,
then it just drops. Okay. And each time you do that, you build a little bit more resilience towards it and a
yeah.
little bit more capacity to hold the space for yourself. And then
Yes.
the more you hold the space for yourself, the more you just, all right, suffering. Wonderful. Yay. What is it telling me this time? And I know that sounds weird, but I'm
Yeah,
like so grateful when I'm suffering. It's like, oh,
absolutely.
good. I get to repattern that. Now I can use that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that, that's the hard part, right? That so many people don't understand
Yeah.
that the suffering is actually the magic, right?
It's the gift.
It is.
That's right.
That's the only way to get to the other side is to stop resisting it and to start embracing it. And to your point, building the capacity to to face it and to literally, what you're talking about in terms of brain neuroplasticity. That is, I'm wondering if you agree with me when I say that is really the only way um to become the person that can embrace your next level self and your next level life, is if you are willing to use your suffering as the vehicle to get there. There's
I
really no
agree.
other way around, right?
I don't think there's another way around it, honestly.
Yeah.
And I tried every other way. So it
I
wasn't
have
like,
to.
you know,
Yeah.
it's not
Yes.
like I'm just saying that
Oh,
blind. I
no.
actually tried it and I didn't get very far. So
Yeah. 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 That's great. And so how can my listeners find you? Who do you work with? How do you work with people?
There's a site that I can send everybody to. I have some free gifts on there. You
Right?
can get a free copy of my book, and it outlines the 4 steps. You can get a call with me, which I highly recommend, even just to get you started.
Yes.
Um, and you can get invitations to events that we host and things like that. So it's Shift 4 Steps. Shift, SHIFT, the number 4 STEPS.com. Go there and lots of stuff, lots of goodies.
Yeah, great. Adele, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I mean, we are literally very aligned in everything that we're up to in the world. And so thank you so much for sharing your gifts and your wisdom with all of us today.
And thank you for doing what you do, Joanna.
Amazing.